Hi, this is Leesa K, Donner, Editor-in-Chief of Liberty Nation, and with me today is Mark Angelides, and we have a special edition of Liberty Nation Television on the death and legacy of Queen Elizabeth II. Mark, you hail from the UK.
I do.
I guess this was expected. You know, she was 96 years old, but how is the nation holding up?
Well, there's a lot of anti-royalist sentiment, of course, from the political left who have long wanted the monarchy to end. But the general feeling across the nation is one of sadness. It's a national day of mourning. And Queen Elizabeth obviously represents a lot more than just the royal family. She also represents a lot of things for Britain itself. And so the general feeling is one of sadness. It's 70 years on the throne. It's a very long time, and the vast majority of the population have never known another monarch.
Well, it's interesting, I think, because, you know, she was on the throne for so long. She was almost an institution in and of herself. And you have to wonder, you know, she did keep her promise when she was 21 years old, like you said in your article for LibertyNation.com. She promised the nation that she would give it her all. And that she seemed to do. And I think, is it overstating it to say that people in the UK believe that, you know, she really did everything she could on behalf of her country and in her role?
I would say absolutely. She is one of the rare public figures that has never herself put a single foot wrong. She's
almost when Diana, the Princess of Wales, died, there was a little bit of angst, but she corrected herself there, and she ended up getting it right. But I think that was the closest she ever came to being in disfavor with the British people, right?
Pretty much, yeah. She's always been, as they say, the queen of the people rather than the queen of government, and that's true for the world over. There are so many countries in which she's a head of state, or was head of state, and I mean, there's a sadness in all those countries as well. She represented the Commonwealth. She represented this nation, and her legacy will almost certainly be one of equanimity and cool-headedness, and she's always been able to bring a bit of respect and decency back to institutions as institutions become more corrupted as they go along, which is common in pretty much every British institution. She's managed to keep the monarch's position out of scandal, out of disrepute, and I don't think we shall see the like again.
Well, it's interesting because her children, you know, have caused a variety of problems, and then now her grandchildren. And doesn't everything kind of change? Titles change, etc. Like, I remember Meghan Markle was making a fuss over her son not carrying the title of prince, but I gather that's going to be changing.
It probably will. You see, the original letters of marque that came about a long time ago was that the monarch's children and grandchildren would have the title of prince and princess, and of course, Meghan Markle and Harry's children are great-grandchildren, so were never counted under the titles of prince or princess. So when she alluded that her children were being denied because of their racial heritage, and we wrote about this on LibertyNation.com, and it was an utter falsity. And the fact is that no decision has been made to allow mixed race members of the family to adopt the title. What will be happening now is that because Harry and Meghan's children are now grandchildren will be grandchildren of the monarch once Prince Charles assumes the throne, they will have access to the titles prince and princess.
Well, I think it's safe to say, you know, between Prince Andrew, who had his issues with Epstein, and, you know, Charles and his marriage and everything, she somehow managed to kind of keep everything floating. You know, I think it was quite a life well lived.
I would say so. I think if anybody can spend more than 70 years in public service. And we saw this with the Queen's Jubilee just a few months ago. And it wasn't just the nation celebrating her time on the throne. It was really the world was celebrating. I know that even Liberty Nation readers got a kick out of our photo and video vlog of the celebrations. And yeah, in terms of a life well lived, it was one of sacrifice, certainly. But I believe there was also happiness there. She was very happily married for many, many years to Prince Philip, who died last year, I believe.
Right. And it sort of made sense that, once he was going, you could just sort of feel it in the wind, as they say, people who have been married a long time. And they were married a long time.
Many, many years, yes. I think it was also a case of, you hear it occasionally where people just, I'm tired, this is about it for me. And I think that was perhaps the case for Queen Elizabeth as well. She'd stopped doing some of her royal duties. In fact, the Parliament was opened by Prince Charles for the first time this year. And the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Liz Truss, rather than going to Buckingham Palace in London, which is the usual form, which has been done for the last 15 prime ministers under Queen Elizabeth, she travelled up to Scotland, to the Balmoral estate where the Queen died, to ask to form a government. And so the traditions were changing. She couldn't keep up with the public appearances to her full extent. And of course, the times, as Bob Dylan once said, are changing. And
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so she's gone now, and we'll see how Prince Charles, soon to be King Charles, deals with the situation.
Well, let's talk about a couple of things that are set in motion with her death. He assumes the throne, but the official coronation can wait a while. But what other things go into effect? I assume there's a certain way and a lot of decorum that go into planning the funeral of a monarch, which is probably all written down, and
it actually
a number of other things.
It was written down in the 60s, oddly enough, and it was known as Operation London Bridge. Now, obviously, since the 60s, it's had a lot of changes because everything has changed. But on the moment of the Queen's death, it's referred to in Operation London Bridge as D-Day. And so one day after is D+1, 2 days after is D+2. But essentially what happens under Operation London Bridge is the country has stopped all major functionings. There'll be a new anthem to be, or words, at least the words of the anthem will have to be changed. The currency, passports.
Oh, right.
Official papers. Everything's got to change. So
now it's God Save the King, not God Save the Queen, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, we don't know. There could be grander changes than that. And I've only just learned the words to this one. So it might take me another 40 years to learn the new one too. If King Charles lasts that long, he is quite an elderly gentleman himself already. So I might have to learn another 2 anthems in my lifetime. But yes, a number of officers of state have to change things, seals, sigils, and pretty much everything that has been in place for the last 70 years has to change now. Now, in terms of planning the funeral, we don't know when that will be. Flags will be kept at half-mast until 8 a.m. the day after the state funeral, at which point we'll start getting, I believe we'll start getting the first hints of plans regarding the coronation. But until then, until after the state funeral for Queen Elizabeth, I don't think we'll have any coronation plans solidified.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. Queen Elizabeth II, dead at age 96. I'm Leesa K. Donner for LibertyNation.com. Thank you, Mark Angelides, Managing Editor.
Thank you.
Entertaining, informative, and just plain fun. Watch Liberty Nation's The Conservative 5. Produced by conservatives for conservatives. C5's The Left Free Zone, hosted by Liberty Nation's Leesa K. Donner, joined by a raucous, irreverent panel of authors, deconstructing leftist narratives, debating the hot topics, and remembering to laugh. Join the official conservative safe
You only
space.
did that to piss Jeff off.
Liberty Nation's The Conservative Five.